Hello, my name is Paul Arnold, sometimes known as a stuttering professor, and I'm a strategic planner, facilitator, trainer, amongst other things. And I've read many books and I've summarised over 50 books. And what I've noticed is so many of these books have like one core concept, which they fill out to 300 pages. So I want to save you a lot of time. And basically, I'm going to now go through, I think, 17, business marketing books and just tell you what I think the top line of those books are. So let's go. So this is Beyond Performance, How Great Organizations Build Ultimate Competitive Advantage by Scott Keller and Colin Price from McKinsey. And they identify 5 A's of performance: aspire, assess, architect, act, and advance. Then we've got big data, a revolution that will transform how we live, work, and think by Victor Mayer Schonenberger and Kenneth Kukier. And it's the ability to process massive amounts of information will transform society by driving innovation, changing how businesses and individuals make decisions. So it's all about the change that data is making in our lives right now. Then we look at brand sense, and this is Build Powerful Brands Through Touch, Taste, Smell, Sight and Sound by Martin Lindstrom. And he basically believes, which I agree with, that brands can create deep customer loyalty and strong emotional connections by engaging all 5 senses. And I think the next book really takes that on one more step, which is about sort of building distinctive brand assets by Jenny, Romaniuk. I apologise, I'm hopeless on pronouncing names. And it basically, this comes off how brands grow with Byron Sharp, and the Ehrenberg Institute. And it basically focuses very much on the one thing about a brand needs to cultivate a consistent expression of its distinctive brand assets to enhance its physical and mental availability. So to go back to the Lindstrom book, maybe do have a distinctive sound, a distinctive smell, a distinctive look, etc. Distinctive everything, as much as the 5 senses can do. David and Goliath, Underdogs, Misfits and the Art of Battling Giants by Malcolm Gladwell. And within it is the classic idea about to win, the Davids need to play by different rules than what the Goliaths operate by, which again neatly feeds into one of the all-time marketing classics, Eating the Big Fish, How Challenger Brands Can Compete Against Brand Leaders by Adam Morgan. Again, very similar principle. Smaller brands need to be disruptive and do things differently to win share. And it's not just win brand share, but to win share of the mind. Jim Stengel, ex-P&G, the book Grow, How Ideals Power Growth and Profit, and the World's Greatest Companies by Jim Stengel. Brands and organizations will maximize return if they have at their driving core an ideal, a higher level purpose. Trick back into Simon Sinek's stuff. I think some debates still open about purpose, but let's not get into that now. Then the all-time classic, How Brands Grow, What Marketers Don't Know by Byron Sharp, and this is that, the fundamental thing for me is penetration is key. So we need to focus on reaching large audience and driving mental and physical availability, and then loyalty will follow on after that. Quite a sweet little book, Made to Stick, Why Some Ideas Take Hold and Others Come Unstuck by Chip and Dan Heath. To make an idea memorable and actionable, it must be simple, unexpected, concrete, credible, emotional, and new stories. In other words, they're mnemonic of success. So I was going to go to another one. I don't have these as books because I've got them online. Selling Creativity Short by Peter Field and Les Binet, I assume, was involved with it. Advertisers have increased their spending behind digital, with a subsequent reduction in longer term brand building, resulting in a sizable drop in effectiveness. Then I was going to talk about this book, Strategic Digital Marketing. Top digital experts share the formula for tangible returns on your marketing investment, edited by Eric Greenberg and Alexander Cates. And it basically makes the point that organizations need to adopt a constant and never-ending stream of rapid test and learn to drive improved ROI, as the rate of change is exponential. Moving on to the next book, which is The Hidden Agenda, a proven way to win business and create a following, by Kevin Allen. And he makes a point: the key to winning business is to connect to the hidden agenda, their emotional desire, their unmet need, call it what you want, and then show them how you can help them reach that better than others. And then if you do that, they will then buy you. The other famous IPA sponsored book by Peter Field and Les Binet, the long and short of it, in that we need to invest in long-term brand building as well as short-term sales activation. And the recommended split is about 60% budget on brand building and 40% on sales activation. Moving on to another classic I did my MBA with, The Mind of a Strategist, The Art of Japanese Business by Kenichi Omai. Apologies for the bad pronunciation. Japanese businesses achieved global dominance through insight-driven strategic thinking. Insight is all about this book, focused on customer, company and competitor. Then a lovely guy called Ross Lovelock, who was at Pepsi, wrote this great idea about the one thing you need to know, the square way to better business planning and decision making, by Ross Lovelock. And it's a selling presentation that pivots around one key question using the mnemonic square. Marcus Cora wrote a book called The Persuader: How to Use Emotional Persuasion to Win More Business. Very NLP driven, and any new business presentation needs to engage clients both emotionally as well as logically, and lots of some clever little devices in there. The last one on here is Velocity: The 7 New Laws for a World Gone Digital by Ajaz Ahmed and Stefan Olander. Organizations need to be flexible to respond to fast change. Digital data allows instant feedback loops to help an organization better adapt and remain fit to compete. And they developed 7 laws to maintain velocity. Anyway, I hope that helps.